You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Arrested Development After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Arrested Development After Show.
Hello, everyone. Bing is for doing, and today we're doing another episode or after show of Arrested Development. It Gets Better, Season 4, Episode 13. I'm your host, Cathy Kelley. Across from me is the lovely Roxy Striar.
Hello.
And filling in for Nando
and Alina
is Phil Svitek.
And I have living proof that it does get better because our new mascot
Sparky Bark.
Sparky Bark.
Sparky Bark is here at AfterBuzz TV. He's a rescue that we just got yesterday, and you know what? It does get better.
He's a rescue dog. I don't think we said the word dog.
Oh, yes. People who are just listening might not know that Sparky Bark is indeed a dog and not a man.
Yes, we did not rescue a man. We rescued a dog.
Anyway.
So I guess it does get better.
It does get better for dogs.
You know what?
Men, not so much.
I really liked how circular the episode was because, you know, at the end of the episode, I got that feeling that, you know what, it does get better.
Yeah.
Especially with when we see the the new kids coming in and everyone's kind of looking at him like they looked at George Michael.
See, I think it was ironic because I think it didn't get better, at least not in the next week's episode. That obviously doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is getting better for George Michael in that, you know, freshman year, he was just an awkward kid. And then by senior year, even though fake block is not living up to what he thought it might be after it wasn't a wood block app anymore.
And of course, there was a line in the episode where somebody else has their own version of the stair car, and he goes up to them and he's like, it gets better when they crash into.
Oh, yeah, I love that part.
The exact same thing he did, so.
That was Dr. John's Plumbing. If you noticed that. So anyways, let's start off with George Michael's birthday. The Blues throw him a birthday party, and we always see the posters that the Blues make, and then they end up giving him a check to buy a car. This is when his dad storms in.
It's more of a birthday meeting.
Yes, a birthday meeting. And his dad storms in and says, he's done with this family. George Michael, rip up that check. I'll give you a car. Ends up giving him the stair car.
Wow.
Unfortunately, and he gets stuck under a bridge. And I actually had a very similar experience where I saw a truck get stuck under a bridge when I was about 5 years old, and my mom and I made fun of it for weeks.
Okay, just saying, seeing the truck get stuck and actually being the driver,
two different things.
Not a similar experience.
Yes. Yeah, I guess it was a little bit different, but
you're a bystander, Cathy Kelley.
What's always interesting to me about George Michael is that he's a product, you know, as much as we talk about maybe being a product of her kind of crappy parents, you know, the fact that Michael and Lindsay are so similar in their rebelliousness, but in two completely different actual methods of actualizing it. Mm-hmm. George Michael is so messed up because he has no real choice in his life, and it's ironic that with face block, you know, that's kind of his only choice, and yet it's a lie, and like the Blues, he is good at lying.
I guess I agree with what you're saying. Like, they both Lindsay and Michael are always trying to stick it to the man in completely different ways, but yeah, they both have that rebellious side of them.
Mm-hmm. So George Michael, we see a little bit of what happened in the few years that we didn't have Arrested Development in our lives, and that was college. Freshman year, awkward kid. Sophomore year, awkward kid who had a girlfriend that then was the girlfriend of his best friend,
Becky.
Ray. Becky and Ray.
Aww.
And then Ray became friends with him again, but by junior year, George Michael decided to partake in a kissing experiment, which...
Should we demonstrate again? Last week, Cathy and I
Demonstrating.
had quite the demonstration.
George
And it's not what you're
Michael's
thinking.
But just a reason to watch this on video as opposed to listen on iTunes. But speaking of iTunes, you can check out all of our after shows on iTunes. Just type in AfterBuzz TV. You can find our Arrested Development after shows as well as 60 other after shows that we do every single week here. So if you're a fan of any other shows on TV, we probably have an after show for you. Check it out, and then check out our show. Rate us 5 stars and comment.
And what if I want to watch live? Where can I go to do that?
Well, if you want to watch live, you can go to our new improved website, AfterBuzzTV.com. You can stream the live show right there, find all of our past episodes, find pictures from the episodes, and a lot more.
That's right. It's interesting to talk about George Michael in his progression of college, because obviously college is supposed to be a time of growing up, and most kids really kind of discover themselves. They're away from their parents for really the first time. And so the fact that we can pinpoint George Michael's progression in college to these simple facts of he gets a girlfriend, he loses a girlfriend, doesn't really yield well to his actual development in any way.
What do you mean?
It just like minimizes his accomplishments, and by saying that he, at this age, instead of saying he matured and grew a sense of humor, whatever it is, it's like, oh, well, he had a girlfriend there, he got dumped there. It's very George Michael-esque. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess he hasn't really progressed except for his sexual prowess.
Well, I do think he has, because I think that when you're younger, the weirder you are, the weirder everybody looks at you. But when you're older, when you kind of like embrace that weirdness, then you're cool, Yeah. So like George Michael's a weird dude, but as we see in college, people are kind of liking his bizarre sense of humor.
Having eggs at dinner and Pepsi for breakfast.
So badass.
Oh my gosh, he's a rebel.
By the way,
Date's a rebel, is a rebel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I do think he is, in a sense. I don't even know if he's growing. I just think that people's perception of him is growing to be more positive.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I mean, it is funny how he got seduced, and that's where the mustache comes in. And so rewatching episode 1, you're like, okay, now that makes sense why he has a mustache.
Well, yeah, and as you were saying, he goes to study abroad in Spain, ends up becoming a nanny for the summer, gets seduced by the mother. I love the part where she's like, make me cry. And then he's like, you're a horrible mother. She starts
and then
sobbing.
Later on, he brags about the fact that he made her cry.
Yeah.
Very typical George Michael.
Did you guys notice that later in the episode when he's talking about erasing things from the internet, they have a flashback, or I guess not a flashback, but they go over to Spain. You see her saying, yeah, this is this boy that I slept with.
And then the baby belly.
She looks like she's about 8 or 9 months pregnant.
Yep, I know.
Soap opera. Dun, dun, dun.
We can get to that in predictions, though, what we think is going to happen there.
Yes. So he comes back from Spain, and he has matured a little bit. At least he's gotten more confident.
Maybe he's a better kisser now, and so maybe we'll like him a little better.
Don't use the teeth like that.
Yeah, but really what we know, it's a jaw problem because we have all the information.
This is the part. The irony is, I get. I don't know. The irony is, I'm looking at that and I still don't quite understand the science behind. I don't know. I get it, but it's just not completely.
What, the kissing experiment?
It's just out of control.
I feel like I've heard those things on CNN or the Today Show or morning shows where they always talk about, oh yeah, this new study came out about what attracts people to X, or the signs of kissing, or all those things, and it's so weird that they incorporated that.
I think it's all crap.
Show.
People just have a lot of time on their hands. But
the government will give money to any study.
Totally. If it helps George Michael, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. And so George Michael partook in this because his father obviously wasn't helping him out anymore financially. But he decides to become part of a band so that he can get a scholarship to Juilliard.
No, it's not only part of the band, it's his band.
It's his band that he plays the wood block for. And
very challenging instrument.
Yes. And it seems like he has some problems with the bandmates because they are not following his lead.
The irony is, it's funny seeing him in a leadership role in that sense, because he's a terrible leader, and No, and as he says, like, your timing is terrible and all those things, and you know, we've seen that Michael time in and time when he's you know, managing his father's company.
Okay, tell me how you did that.
There's actually, I Googled, or I binged the app, and there are actually 3 fake block apps in the iTunes store, 2 fake block apps, and 1 official fake block app.
It's a fake block?
Fake block, yeah. But this is the real fake block, and you can, although there are no wood variations,
that's
you can, yeah, there's no wood variations, there's no mallet variations, but if you tap enough times, for 10 taps, you get to see George Michael trying to play the wood block in the Family Fun Time band from, I think, season 2 or 3. And then we also, after 20 taps, you get to see, was the wall 20 feet high or 20 feet wide? Happy Cinco de Cuatro after 54 taps. An ostrich egg after 240 taps, and after 400 taps,
Do you know
part of the 40-40
you tapped it 400 times?
Yes, I went very fast to see how many, and then I stopped because that was way too many taps.
At what point do we get to see Kid practices his fighting moves?
You don't. But it says that this is the way that you can drive your friends up a wall.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're driving fans up the wall.
We don't want to drive anything up the wall. We want to knock the wall down.
Do you like my internal clock?
You have terrible timing.
Spot on.
No, it's not.
It's like baby talk.
No, it's not. It's terrible. All right, moving on.
So George Michael obviously has this amazing internal clock because he was taught how to have an internal clock by Baby Talk,
which was originally the cornballer.
The cornballer. George Sr. and Lucille decided that the cornballer obviously wasn't safe and wasn't being purchased enough, so they figured they could remarket it as Baby Talk. And we got to see this amazing commercial with baby George Michael and his mother, Tracy Bluth.
Well, I think that's the first time we've ever seen her.
I think so too. And I was trying to think back to if we had seen her in seasons 1 through 3, but I don't think so.
It was so weird how understated that moment was then, if that is the first time we saw her. Because I was expecting some big reveal and it to be somebody that we were like, oh,
yeah.
But no.
Fans, if we did see her and we just forget about it, we haven't? Okay.
We haven't.
Well, then that was the big reveal of his mother. And I love the Lucille voiceover at that one point. She's like, it's absolutely undeniable.
Amazing.
But yes, and I love the idea of while they burn people, we should put them in babies' cribs. Because that seems logical.
Oh, of course. Valid point.
Because kids don't touch anything.
Yes. So senior year, along with starting his band, Michael moves back to the dorm rooms, and I think there's a little bit of foreshadowing because they say they thought that he was 2 people, George and Michael.
Right.
So they put George and Michael on the board, which we know that George Michael changes his name to George Maharis, and his father, Michael, moves in.
Oh, and so it's George and Michael.
Yeah.
Funny, yeah.
But they don't have P-Hound's name on the board.
Screw P-Hound. Let's vote him out.
Paul. What is his last name? They referenced it once.
I don't know.
Today.
We'll have to look it up.
Paul. So, because of the band, P-Hound and George Michael decide to make an electronic woodblock app so people can hear him when the band is being too loud.
Which is such a good point because, of course, the app is way louder than what he would do. I mean, it ends up spiraling into a good idea, but the original plan, not so brilliant.
The original plan, not so brilliant, and
maybe they should have solved for X.
Yes.
Had a better formula.
So P-Hound ends up buying the 3 competing apps on his account. Not on my account, I hope.
99 cents.
99 cents times 3. Times 3. And so that is the original investment into this huge company that could be a multi-million-dollar app.
No, a billion-dollar app, which obviously they're making fun of Facebook.
App. With even on this fake block app, they say 100 million users, which obviously I'm sure they don't have 100 million users, but
You never know.
so they originally come up with wood block, block wood, block of wood, block, which is a chicken's noise. I love that reference.
I was so sad when he didn't actually follow through with the chicken thing, though. You know, he gets up and he puts, I needed that. I needed that moment.
We haven't had that this season, and it's so unfortunate.
You know,
That's the one thing missing.
There's been a couple subtle references, but there hasn't been like a full-blown joke. And like you're saying, another birds and the bees reference.
Yeah.
We're getting the chicken, so something's got to come to a head with this.
Yeah.
They can't keep teasing me like this.
So the domain name for Fake Block ends up costing $5,000, I think. And George Michael has to pay it because
Which is fair.
P-Hound did the first investment
Yeah,
in
you
the
know,
company.
you got to switch off like that.
Yeah.
Seems fair to me.
$2.97 versus $5,000. So George Michael needs to make money. He decides to get into tutoring, goes to the list of people that need tutoring, and sees maybe F on the list. F
is not
stands
the
for Fugue,
yeah.
not her grade, although her grade is also ironically an F.
No, the grade is not there in the system because she's
It's
not
an
a real
Elvis
student.
face. And I loved another reference that we've seen in so many seasons before is you have to ride her hard.
Which again, I'm still freaked out by the fact that I like that. Like that I want them to end up together. This was a really hard moment for me.
We
Again.
talked about in Maybe's episode last week that it seemed like she didn't want to get back together with him, but we're still hoping for it. In this episode, when he does end up tutoring her, it seems like she wants to, she was talking about, you know, the formula. Yeah, I want to drink the formula. It kind of seemed like she wanted to hook up with him, and he was just
Really?
oblivious.
See, no, I feel like the opposite. I feel like she was oblivious to the fact that he was saying, let's solve for X, as in, like, let's have sex.
Well, at first, yes, I think she was oblivious to that. But then once he went on this whole rampage of just wanting to tutor her and not wanting to hook up, she, I think, found that attractive in some odd way.
You know, here's the irony. You know, if you really think about it, right? So he has an internal clock, and so his timing with women is just vastly off.
Yeah, oh, of course.
That's what it really is. They haven't synced up yet on the time of when they want to hook.
But then there's that moment where she says, you know, when you're rich, you can do whatever you want to me in bed.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully we'll get them on the same page, or at least in the same bed.
And I love how many things are misinterpreted just by, you know, I feel safe getting in bed with you. And then that means something completely different to George Michael.
Right.
And then, so maybe shows up at his door. He pretends to be surprised as I live and breathe. And then P-Hound tries to get in on the maybe action. Seems like he's trying to steal his girl.
Wearing George Maharis's shirt.
Yes. Oh, was that?
Yeah.
It was the shirt that
Yeah.
George Maharis had been wearing, George Michael had been wearing earlier in the episode, and he says, dude, you gotta change your shirt. He changes his shirt, and P-Hound puts on the shirt, and then maybe compliments it and says, I knew you were cool because when I saw you wearing that shirt.
That's hilarious.
Salted to George Maharis.
And then P-Hound even says, he's like, I love sleeping with Spanish women.
Yeah. And later on, when George Michael's like, you're trying to get with maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
Play on words. Always fun.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
So George Michael asks maybe why she's still in high school. She explains that she's trying to get her parents' attention still, and she doesn't need to work because she's a heiress.
And that's how we get the last name later on.
George Michael.
It's all interrupted by George Michael's father coming in. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's another wall reference where George Michael's trying to figure out how to get his father to be kicked out of the dorm, and he says, hey, we're putting up a wall. You know?
And then he walks in and he's like, oh, are you talking about your privacy software?
Yep.
I love how it all gets started. So Michael ends up telling maybe about George Michael's very secret privacy software, Fake Block, the anti-social networking and anti-piracy app.
I can't believe what a good liar he was. It freaked me out
Yeah.
when he just started going and telling her about it, naming all these stats. It's not good news.
I don't even know if he knew what he was talking
Right.
about.
I think here's the thing about that for me. I think internally, if you really dissect what the app is supposed to do and things like that, And ironically, as it grows in terms of that, he ultimately just wants to be alone. He's kind of wanted always to be alone and away from his family, really. And so it's ironic as that develops, he's becoming more and more famous and not private in his own life.
Yeah.
That is ironic. I wish that there was an actual app like this out there, though.
Why, you want to get stuff off
It's
of
called not being
online?
on Facebook.
Yeah, I do. No, but like Rebel Alley says, it's so hard to deactivate your Facebook.
It's really
It's
not.
no, it's really easy to deactivate Facebook. MySpace lasts forever.
Really?
Yeah. Deactivating your MySpace.
I still have MySpace. I haven't been on it in like 4 years, but I still have it.
Yeah.
It's out there somewhere. Find me.
It's creepy.
Creepy, very, very creepy.
Creepy. So maybe is completely impressed with this idea of fake block. Like many women, she just wants a guy who's successful.
I think for her, it's more of the opportunity, especially, you know,
Now that she's done.
yeah, with her
Hollywood.
career being over, you know, she'll latch on to anything that can kind of get her back into it.
And George Michael obviously finds this app appealing, this new version of fake block, because he wants to get rid of his Star Wars video that is circling the internet.
Kid practices his fighting moves.
Yes.
That's the video that I want to be on your fake block.
Unfortunately, it's not. Maybe it's after like 1,000 taps.
You start tapping.
I can't.
I can't believe you went to 400.
I was literally sitting there like a mad woman, like, I want more, I want more.
I can picture it now.
So they end up voting out Michael, which we saw again.
Which was great because, you know, as George Michael says to Michael, you know, like, hey, it was P-Dog's idea to do a vote. Michael's very enthusiastic about it. But remember, back to episode 1, he was leaning back in the chair. Michael was. In this episode, it was George Michael. So they both, you know, they made that comparison.
Yeah.
That's when great ideas happen. Just lean back in your chair.
Let's try. Nope, nothing coming to me.
I got tons. What do you want?
Let's
Fake
hear.
block. I
Yeah.
want-
They're, you know, I don't want to say them on air. They're money makers here.
And if he says them, they'll never leave the internet
Yeah.
unless fake block happens.
Yeah, but that's not one of my brilliant ideas, fortunately.
So
Anyway.
before Maybe leaves, she invites George Michael to the Opie Awards because she's, you know, getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and none of her friends can come without parental permission slips.
But but George Michael's fine to go because he just pissed off his parent. What did she say? She was like, yeah, because you completely betrayed your father.
Yes.
You don't need his permission.
So
Low blow.
3 events going on at the same time, which we already have pieced together: the Opie Awards, the Schnoodle event, and Herbert Love's campaign event.
The Schnoodle event, also known as Tony Wonders, that's who he's sponsoring
Yes.
there.
So I love how when George Michael accompanies Maybe to the event, he says, "You grew up very quickly in Spain," then immediately sees David Henry from Wizards of Waverly Place and is like, "Oh, I know you."
Okay, but how often, have you ever done that before?
No.
You've never done that?
I mean, maybe, but it's not famous people. It's usually like Z-list celebrities or like reality stars that I think I know, not,
Real life story.
yeah.
The one time I've ever done that, person on this show, Henry Winkler, thought he was my old basketball coach, Phil Levoff.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
That actually happened. Most embarrassing, mortifying moment of my life when finally I realized, holy crap, it's the Fonz. Like, horrible, on a plane.
That's
really incredibly
hilarious.
awkward.
That's hilarious.
I think
Was this before or after you met Marie and Kevin?
Before.
It was before, yeah. Check it out. It's on a Gossip Girl episode. We get really in depth into it. I forget which episode number, so you'll have to listen to all of them.
Absolutely mortifying.
Oh my
Most
gosh.
embarrassing moment of my life.
That's hilarious. What did he say? What was his reaction?
I mean, I pursued it for about 25 minutes. Like, this was not a quick interaction. I was like, Phil, we know each other. Like, they don't even look that much alike. I can't even talk about it without, like, completely blushing. But, yep,
If only you had forget-me-now pills.
my celebrity mix-up. Yeah, I need some of those.
Take him now.
So I've pulled a George Maharis before, to say the least.
Yeah. So, also, Lindsay walks in and George Michael says, "Gentlemen, start your engines," which is hilarious because that's what Michael said
I
last
know.
time he saw Lindsay in the red wig.
Exactly.
Disgusting and hilarious at the same time.
I mean, I think
They both have the same taste in women.
it's less disgusting to say it about your aunt and more disgusting to say it about your sister.
Well, they're not related,
Oh, yeah. True.
but still.
So it's disgusting anyway.
Yeah. And for someone, I mean, also George Michael has had relations with her daughter, and I don't know. Anyways, so George Michael overhears maybe talking about fake block, screaming about fake block, and meets Rebel in the process, which then we see how George Maharis comes about. He learns about Perfecto and ends up blowing off Rebel because he's so heartbroken that maybe has a boyfriend.
But this is it's a power play here. Rebel's very interested in him because he's playing the aloof.
Hard to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a life lesson.
Chicks
Nice
think
guys
that.
finish last.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Unfortunately. So this is when we see the Marky Bark explosion. Power surge ruins Schnoodle software, and at the exact same moment, George Michael was getting out his phone to snap a picture of some child star.
Yeah. And they think that
people think that he's a genius and sabotaged Schnoodle.
and ruined the whole event because he could.
Ruined the whole company
Yeah.
because he could. And this word gets around town quickly. John Beard even reports while George Michael is at the gas station he sees on the news. Investors want to fill up George Maharis's tank. I love this part where they're like, if that's all the news, or if that's all the news that's fit to pump, I quit.
Yeah.
Everything was
Clever.
a reference to pumping gas.
Got it.
Good pickup, Cathy. Good pickup. It was a good call.
Yeah. So George Michael goes to the Ealing Club to meet his father after he learns that.
We have to go back to this moment with Rebel and. Oh no, this is at the Ealing Club.
So, well, a lot of
With the
stuff happens in the
dangerous
interim. First, George Michael goes to see the magic show with Job, and then learns that his father's mad at him, so he goes to meet him at the Ealing Club.
Do I seem like a clown to you?
And George Michael gets up, sees Rebel there, and I love he knows her from Dangerous Cousins, the remake.
Which is the reason he signed up to Netflix. Shout out.
Another Netflix shout out.
I need to see Dangerous Cousins. That needs to be a real movie, and we need to see it.
I'm sure they have a trailer out somewhere. They always make extra content.
Gotta find that.
Which is great.
I'm sure there's a real movie out there
Called
like that.
Dangerous
That
Cousins.
In France
Probably
all
don't
night.
want to watch.
Yeah.
Except, like, I do.
No, you don't.
I'll do an internet search after.
Only if it's with maybe and George Michael.
Yeah,
Ooh.
no, definitely not.
I really I have to watch the finale right after we do these after shows because I'm really hoping that they hook up, which is disgusting.
I know, me too. It's a problem.
But we can save that for predictions.
We're so biased against him calling Lindsay hot, but that's less weird than him hooking up with his cousin.
Yeah.
First, why would you think that?
So Rebel still thinks that George Maharis is playing hard to get because he doesn't respond when she says George Maharis at first. Then he realizes who she's talking to and still tries to play this bad boy and ends up going to the men's room. Says first, what was the line that...
Oh, George Michael's here? Remind me not to go to the men's room.
Yeah, because George Michael has a little problem with hooking up with dudes in men's rooms. And then, not this
our
George
George
Michael,
Michael.
yes, George Michael, the singer, who he doesn't want to be known as. And he says, right as his dad calls him, let me go to the men's room, excuse me. So Michael's downstairs, can't get up. I love how he's like, I'm having trouble getting up there. Even though he means... because there's traffic. There's a huge plane accident.
That was the
And the
weirdest.
kids are driving the plane, and
That was the weirdest back and forth.
Well, because after one voicemail, Michael knew that George Michael was lying to him. We originally predicted that there was actually this bizarre accident, but...
I wish they had gone with it that way. I think it would have been funnier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then, but it's weird. They both stay with the lie, but they probably both know each other are lying. Actually, I don't know if George Michael knew that Michael was.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a long back and forth there.
It's very odd to see them fighting Because I don't think we really saw that in season 1 through 3.
Yeah, they've always been very close, but I think, like we were talking about, George Michael is growing up, and as he's growing up, he's becoming more independent, and that doesn't sit well with Michael because he's really all...
Doesn't sit well?
Sally? Right, but I know. I just think it's like empty nest syndrome. Hard to let go.
Yeah. So Michael finally gets up to the Ealing Club because of one of the... What are their names?
Richter.
Andy and
The Richters.
Donnie and Rocky.
Yes. So he hears that Rebel's up there, wants to get up there, and runs into Ron Howard in the process, who he still thinks is Rebel's boyfriend. And we saw the photo booth at the back, which is referenced in other episodes. So later I guess at the very beginning of the episode, we saw everyone sucking up to George Michael because of Fake Block, all of his new employees, and they throw him a party because they know that he wants to throw Rebel a party and impress her. But when she shows up, she says, "George Michael, we need to talk." Probably because she's falling for his father.
How this is going to come to a head, I have no idea, but it can't be good on any fronts.
Yeah.
It's like all incestual, this show.
It's very incestual. I think it will be a very hilarious ending. I'm excited to see it. And another thing that we saw coming up next week is George Michael running into legal issues with P-Hound over Fake Block, very similar to how the Facebook was fought over.
This was like an episode of Social Network.
Mm-hmm. So an episode of Social Network,
like
a movie.
Like the movie,
Yeah.
but this is an episode of it.
Yes, for sure.
Anyway.
Predictions quickly?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I don't think we've seen the last of Mort.
No.
I think that he definitely had something to do with the takedown of Job. I don't know why. I just get bad vibes from him. That's my prediction.
Okay. It's a pretty big prediction.
It's bold, it's out there, but that's like me.
I think that photo booth is definitely going to come into play. It's not, as you guys mentioned, it's not the first time we've kind of seen it, and so I'll leave it at that.
Do we think that the Spain lady is pregnant with George Maharis's kid?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe so. And I really, really hope that mustache never comes back. That's not a prediction, but maybe he is.
That's a hope.
Yes. So, stick around if you're watching live because we will be doing episode 14 right after this. If you aren't watching the live, then make sure to tune into our other couple episodes. We are excited for the finale. It's coming up. If people want to find you, where can they find you, Roxy?
On Twitter, at Roxy Striar.
You can follow us here at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and AfterBuzzTV.com.
Every social network and every anti-social network. You can find me on Twitter at Cathy Kelley. So thank you for tuning in, and if you're watching live, stick around for the next episode.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.